Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag. Please remain standing for a moment of silent reflection for all our servicemen and women throughout the world and for those who passed away in our community, especially Naomi Monahan, Polishman, Willard Weisenflue, and Donald Nealon. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. King?
Present.
Mr. Schuster?
Present.
Dr. Rothchild? Here. Mr. McAndrew?
Present.
Mr. Smurl?
Here.
I would like to make a motion to take from the table file of the council number 21 of 2024.
Second.
There's been a motion on the floor and a second to take from the table file on Council Number 21, 2024, and place in seventh order for a final vote. This ordinance is removing the outdated floodplain management provisions of the City Code. On the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved. Also, there will be a motion to suspend the rules and move item 5B to seventh order for a final vote after it is introduced in fifth order. This resolution is a contract multi-scape to demolish and replace a 130-foot retaining wall pursuant to FEMA flooding and deadlines. Anyone would like to speak on these pieces of legislation may do so in fourth order during citizens' participation. Dispense of the minutes, please.
Third order, 3A, Lackawanna County Planning Commission Subdivision and Land Development Evaluation Report received July 22nd, 2024. 3B, correspondence dated July 26, 2024 from BA ARPA Director regarding ARPA departmental budget transfers.
Are there any comments on any of the third order items?
I just have one comment for 3B. I know there's some money going from one pool to the other. If we could ask if we can get a total pool plan for what what's coming up construction-wise, renovations, and timeline for the opening of those, and then maybe we could talk with the Parks Director possibly to come in for a caucus to discuss pools moving into next year.
I will, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Received and filed. Do any other council members have any other announcements at this time?
I have a quick one. So this Friday, August 2nd, from 6 to 8, the West Scranton Football Boosters are presenting an adult social. It's at the Yucca Vets on Railroad Avenue on West Side, and it's $10 donation, and there'll be draft beer, light fare, basket raffles, and 50-50. So let's try to support these guys. That's all I have.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I think there's German Day scheduled for Sunday, August 4th at the Waldorf. It's from 1 till 6 p.m.
Not sure if we've mentioned this one, but the SPD's National Night Out is going to be on Tuesday, August 6th from 6 o'clock, I believe, till 9 o'clock. And that's always great every year, bring kids to, and, have the demonstrations and the different vehicles and everything there, a lot of tables. So that's at Scranton High School. And that's all that I have. Thanks.
Thank you. Garbage cans.
I was going to say that for fifth.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's
No,
okay.
that's all right. So just an announcement, the blue recycling containers are available after 10 a.m. tomorrow at the DPW. They could be picked up there.
Thanks. 19th Annual Scranton Jazz Festival will be August 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, this weekend downtown. And the second annual Latino Festival starts Saturday the 3rd from noon till 6, and that is at Naog Park.
Fourth order, citizen participation.
First, Joan Hodowanis.
Joan Hodowanitz, Scranton, or as my friends know me, the original childless cat lady. I was looking at the city's website again today, and the collective bargaining agreements, firefighters is now 484 days we're waiting, police 368 days, and the clerical union now 7 days. DPW, they're in good shape. Their contract is current and on the website, 1 of 4. Item 7A, the repeal of the residency requirement. Have we ever gotten an answer on what to do with the wage tax? Are people living outside of the city going to be required to continue to pay that?
Joan, I forgot about the entire, to ask about that,
Okay.
about all the departments, but I will get that to you tomorrow.
Yeah, and if not, then those few people we have, like Eileen Cipriani, who are paying it, that should cease immediately. It should be one standard if we're going to do that. So somebody needs to look at that, because it is part of the financial impact of doing this. I see the logic, but the devil is always in the details. Item 3B, the budget transfers, where we're delaying HVAC improvements and the replacement of heating and cooling pipes in City Hall for important projects, I grant you. But once again, we end up kicking the can down the road on valid maintenance issues, and one day, if this is not picked up again, it's going to affect City Hall. What happens if in the middle of winter you have no heat, or your pipes freeze, or your pipes burst? So yes, I understand why there may be more important issues at the time, and you make the budget transfer. These maintenance issues should not be dropped entirely. Somebody needs to pick them up. I saw in the paper this morning that the county is making a contract with Bowman for $224,000 to identify roadway hazards and create an action plan. And they're doing things like looking at intersection safety to eliminate fatalities and injuries. And they want to have a committee of businesses and residents, I would imagine, among others, that will provide input. My question is, this kind of overlaps with the city's walkability plan, does it not? And has there been any coordination between the city and the county so that you can have a united effort on this where issues of safety do overlap? Was anything mentioned? I didn't see anything in the paper on it. Did the mayor mention anything, or her administration say anything about knowing that this was coming up?
Not to me. That was hearing of it the other day, same as you. I don't know, is it specifically for downtown? I thought it was for all of Lackawanna County.
Yeah, but the little photos they had was of North Washington and Adams and that intersection and my beloved pedestrian buttons, things of that nature. But I mean, face it, Scranton is the largest municipality within the county, so obviously it's going to affect Scranton too. But it seems to me that a lot of times the different levels of government, there's a duplication of effort, which often results in a waste of taxpayer dollars. So, hey, if there's any way that a joint conversation can be had, especially when they stand up a committee for input. I know the county knows about the walkability study. The question is, does the city know about this contract? And as you're getting ready for your recess, I hope you enjoy your days in August. Remember, when you come back, there will be questions about the status of the audit, what's happening with the next budget, and I would like to know you're coming up on the first anniversary of the September 9th flood. Have we taken care of the victims of that, or are they still hanging out there waiting for help? Thank you.
Thank you, Joan. Alan Lucas?
evening, Council. Alan Lucas, Scranton resident, President of the International Association of Firefighters, Local 60. We represent the Scranton Fire Department. I'm here today to speak regarding the pending repeal of the residency ordinance vote tonight. As I've informed members of the Council via email, a vote to repeal the ordinance is a large benefit to Local 60, as well as all the unions in the city and the city administration. In conversations with members of Council, we've discussed the steps forward this would have regarding recruitment and retention, assisting Local 60 with its negotiations in the future with the city, and that it would modernize the way the city of Scranton can operate. Local 60 applauds and appreciates the efforts of the members of Council that have reached out to us regarding this stance. In May of this year, the local gave an MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, regarding residency to the city to begin a negotiation. The city received similar requests from all of the other unions in the city over the last 2 months. Using that information, the city sent the request to you a few weeks back to see if you could repeal the ordinance. Last week, Local 60 and the city began the process of working on an MOU that can address any concerns the city may have with the operations of the department. An updated MOU was sent to us yesterday, and I sent it to our legal counsel, and we're working on the finishing touches to get all the items addressed to ensure the safe operations of the department if and when the ordinance is repealed. The union intends on meeting and working with the city to finalize what should be the best possible agreement to best serve the citizens of the city, as well as manage the members, of the union. In short, I would like to again thank Council, specifically Mr. Smurl, for giving the opportunity to improve the department by giving us a voice, and I thank you all in advance for your support of this repeal. Yes vote will be appreciated by your city workforce and will not soon be forgotten. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lucas. Jen Reed?
Hello, Jennifer Reed, Scranton citizen, co-founder of Anonymous Helper and homeless advocate. I just wanted to start by saying that we are having a memorial service tomorrow for one of our, for somebody that we did lose. It's at the Pavilion tomorrow, and if anybody could just take a moment tomorrow just to take a moment of silence and think about it. But Randy was pretty awesome.
Jen, what time is it?
It is it's at 11 a.m. at the Pavilion right behind Taco Bell.
Thank you.
The first thing I wanted to bring up was the tornado watch that we had back on the 10th. I tried to call City Hall, but it was too late to find out about an emergency shelter. At 5:09, I called the police to inquire where people were supposed to go. There was about 30 people at the Pavilion, and nobody knew. I did speak to the shift sergeant, Gula. He is amazing, by the way, but did not get an answer. I was told to refer them to the CIC, but they closed at 5. I was the Keystone Mission, they closed at 5. The CIC closed at 6, and the night shelter did not open until 7, and they have a capacity of 26, plus the worker. So I just wanted to know if there was, in case of a natural or man-made disaster, is there actually a place in Scranton for people to go?
Jen, I don't know that, but Mr. Voldenberg, would you ask Chief Judge, I believe he's in charge of emergency management in Scranton, if there is a plan for homeless people, where to meet, and if there's a place to put them?
I will, Mr. Smurl.
Thank you.
I know that there is one for Code Blue for the winter, but that doesn't apply for natural disasters, tornadoes, floods, and things like that. So that was a big concern. The only shelter that we have in the city, there was several nights when they did not open at 7. They're supposed to open at 7. It's posted on the door. July 14th, they didn't open until 10:30 p.m. July 15th, next day, 8:15 p.m. There was people standing outside, so I was handing out water and snacks because they were waiting for that long and tired and just wanted to get in and go to sleep and have a meal. So it was pretty unreliable. Also in 2020, Keystone Mission was approved during a zoning board meeting to open a new shelter that was supposed to, project expected $4 million with money coming from donations with 60 beds. And that would actually house about a third of the homeless people that we have in the city. Not families, but like individual people. We have no need for a family shelter at this point. We have mostly single individual homeless people. I've seen several conflicting articles online about whether or not it was going to happen. I'm not sure what happened with it, so I don't know if anybody does know if it was at some point repealed or anything like that. But that was 2020, and nothing's happened yet. So that was a big issue because that would actually help a lot of people. I know that I believe there was a couple people, maybe Dr. Rothchild and Mr. Smurl, given the Scranton Home ARP allocation plan. I didn't know if anybody had actually looked at it or had a chance to look at it.
It was sent to us? It was an
I
email?
believe it was an actual handout.
Okay,
I can resend it again, though.
if you would, thank you.
Yes. But just to get some feedback on that. And then regarding the tomorrow with the memorial service, I had brought up before, there was a concern about a certain citizen who is continuously harassing the homeless people in front of children, threatening to, beat up women and, putting information online, and it's just really counteractive to what we're trying to do and very destructive. So we want to make sure that, people have a safe way to contact and not have repercussions. Basically, they're afraid to call the police because they don't want to be put in a position where they get in trouble. Because, how the tables sometimes flip. So we're not sure what to do in that case where they're afraid to reach out, so.
Okay, Jen, and you said it's tomorrow at 11 a.m. Mr. Voldenberg, will you notify the police department of their intention of having a service at the pavilion tomorrow at 11 a.m.?
I will, sir.
Thank you. Okay,
And I'm baking cake. All right, thank you.
thank you. Les Spindler?
Hi, Council. Les Spindler, city resident. Tragically, over the weekend, 12 Israeli children were killed in another senseless attack on their city. And still, anti-Semitic Paige Cognetti still refuses to fly the Israeli flag, which was given to the city by Bob Bolus. I was at the Jewish Food Festival Sunday. I let as many people know as possible that what she's doing, that she refuses to fly the flag. Many people I spoke to weren't even Jewish, and they said it was terrible, and she won't raise the flag. She puts every other flag up, but not the Israeli flag. That's all I have on that. The 400 or 500 blocks of Lackawanna Avenue, going towards the Radisson, they're terrible. I don't know if that's the city's responsibility or PennDOT, but they got to be paved. It's like driving on a washboard. It's terrible. The 500 block is worse. But it's been like that for months and months, and nothing's been done. Moving on. Last week, Mr. Bolus was here calling Joe Biden a quitter and putting him down, said he didn't do anything for the city. Well, Mr. King put Bob Bolus in his place, saying that Joe Biden gave the city $93 million to fix up parks and other stuff, so Bob didn't know what he was talking about. So I'm glad you set the record straight, Mr. King.
67 million, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, whatever. He still did stuff for the city. Next thing, I want to talk about our corner again. I was told almost 2 years ago it would be taken care of. Then I'm told North Rebecca Avenue is going to be paved. So last fall came up, wasn't paved. Then I'm told it's going to be paved in the spring. This spring has come and gone, still hasn't been paved. And so far, our corner still hasn't been taken care of, which I was promised 2 years ago. And as I've said in the past, if Tom Preamble was still the DPW director, this would have been done years ago. But since we have a revolving door, DPW with directors, I guess nothing's being done there. I guess that's all I have tonight. Like the old song goes, see you in September.
Thank you. Lee Morgan?
Good evening, Council. Lee Morgan. The first thing I have here is the first speaker, Joan, talked about childless cat people, women, ladies. Okay, yes. You know, and I'd like to say that we have a totally inadequate feral cat program in the city where we've got volunteers trying to deal with feral cats. And I don't think the word inadequate is strong enough. I think the city has just totally failed to fund that program really the way it needs to be. And somebody should really do something about that. I mean, like today. The other thing I have is we're talking about a couple firemen moving outside the city and whether they're going to pay the wage tax. I totally believe that the wage tax should be abolished for everyone, because the time to abolish that is long past. That was started a long time ago to keep seniors in their homes, generations ago. The city never did anything to make it possible to abolish that tax. We have to ask ourselves, and this is a good idea because we need to really start thinking in the neighborhoods for the next month why this council is adjourned for vacation. Does this council and this mayor really represent the best interest of the residents of this city? Is that even happening here? I personally don't think it is. That's why I have them in federal court. But you know, people are blowing up my Facebook page asking me to help them with litigation against the city. They're absolutely disgusted with a lack of freedom of information. They're tired of the council not following the laws they pass for everyone else. I mean, we really need to take a look at where our city is and who our make-believe leaders are. I mean, somebody's got to ask, why do the residents pay a franchise fee of over $1.5 million and don't have a public access channel? Is the government afraid of people voicing their opinions and people having shows on those channels? Are you that fearful of the people? You know, I'm having give and take with the federal judge. I had to stand him up the other day and let him know exactly what the law is. It's almost pathetic where our country is. We really have to ask ourselves, you know, how should a government serve its people? You know, we're talking about as if grant money coming to the city from the federal government is a great thing. I think that the residents of this city should go talk to 70, 80, and 90-year-olds and ask them what this city looked like at one time and look at it now. You could put new curtains on the windows, but the city itself is in a complete rollback. And really, we need a real change of leadership in this city. We need to open this building. You know, I wanted to do an interview with Jimmy Connors before he passed away on ECTV because I found him to be a real leader. You could walk into his office, have a cup of coffee, a hot chocolate, discuss an issue, and not worry about licensing and inspections trying to hunt you down and assassinate you. Now, I did have problems with licensing and inspections, with the quality of life ordinances. And I just had a little tussle with them, but now it's in federal court. And when they got to the point where they got to, they hired an outside law firm to deal with me, went through all their silliness, and then withdrew because they knew they were in big trouble. And this is a law that this council passed. It's a detriment to the residents. It doesn't change the mismanagement that this council and this mayor have brought on this city. And this isn't the first council and the first mayor that's done this. You've got to question how we name a pocket park after Chris Doherty when he looted the pension plans of the city and took them from Mellon Bank to another bank and lost millions of dollars. And went into litigation, labor litigation with the unions, and drove the city so far into debt it's ridiculous. I think it's time for the residents of the city to realize one thing. We need a rewrite of the Home Rule Charter. We need to remove ECTV's board of directors and start all over. How we do that? Let's see.
Thank you. Virgil Argenta.
May I approach to give you a handout?
You can give it to Kathy, please.
Yeah. Virgil Argenta, Scranton. Do we have the final number of applicants out of the 130 that advanced to the next level, minus the ones that failed the physical fitness for this patrolman test? And regarding unfinished business with the Civil Service Commission regarding police testing entry-level exams as of August 1st, 2023. Minutes of the meeting, number 5. Solicitor Owens sent an email to the commission summarizing National Testing Network testing process in progress. Solicitor Owens suggested to the commission that motion be made to progress with the candidates who scored 70% of a weighted score. It was then noted that the weighted score wasn't incorporating the written exam. So a motion was made to schedule a special meeting so that Solicitor Owens can speak with NTN representatives, inquire what the scores actually mean, and how to report back to the city and the commission. Motion was made by Commissioner McClatchy to hold the meeting August 11th, 2023 at 12 o'clock in the Naog Park Community Room, seconded by Commissioner Sanders. Does anybody know the outcome of the meeting and how the scores were weighted on the police patrolman exam? What would be the reason? Can you find out when a passing grade for the testing company is 65 for the police patrolman exam, and in some cities they had dropped it to a 55, but for some reason the city of Scranton requested it to be revised to be a 70. Would there be a reason for this change? There seems to be some type of ulterior motive with the scores and the changes and not changes and people showing up and not showing up. When everyone else is dropping the score, Scranton is raising it. Curious minds are just that, curious. That may be certain candidates would qualify. They may pass if the testing score was lowered. Can we please get an answer and put the suspicions to rest once and for all with the testing of the NTN? One other issue with the Civil Service Commission. There seems to be one member who's continuously absent. Is that just another failure of the board's information to upgrade the boards in the minutes of the meetings? Move on to the HUP test. That's HUP. I would like to refresh your memory on a tabled resolution regarding a one-year contract with the law firm of Rudolph Clark, LLC, to review and verify the tax-exempt status of nonprofit and government-owned properties. It's usually referred to as HUP test, a reference to the 5-pronged test used in assessing whether certain tax-exempt properties warrant a designation in the event of a questionable tax exemption. The firm would then work jointly with the City of Scranton, the school district, to file appeals for the next tax year. According to the proposal, council tabled the legislation to inquire about negotiating a lower hourly billing rate than the firm's proposal of $200 for services of attorneys and $125 for the services of paralegals. Does anyone know where we are with this issue? Now regarding the Sorrento Center project. Council couldn't seem to get a straight answer from the administration, with the public wondering it's still in the dark. So we took it upon ourselves once again, and we met with Scartelli Construction. And this is what we found out from Scartelli management themselves. Scartelli Construction has a valid contract. Do you know when they are starting with the work on this project? Why didn't the city issue a notice to proceed yet? Mr. Scartelli was interested in knowing. Mr. Smurl, the HVAC and electrical contractors finished their part of the work, but the general contracting portion of the project was bid out before the HVAC and electrical, and you know that the general contracting work could not be performed until the HVAC and electrical work was done. That work is done. Is the city or any other of their professionals talking to Mr. Scartelli or anybody from Scartelli Construction about starting the work or the delay costs from not starting this work, such as material and labor cost increases? Is City Hall aware of the lawsuit that the City of Scranton filed against Scartelli Construction? The City of Scranton sought to cancel Scartelli Construction's contract as opposed to following the termination provisions in that contract. Is City Hall aware that the court denied the City of Scranton's request to have the court cancel the contract with Scartelli Construction? The court gave City Hall every chance they could to try and revive its claim to have the court cancel the contract, but the city once again did not do this. The city solicitor's office's reason to cancel the contract was because Scartelli submitted a $1,500 change order after the contract award because material and equipment called for in the document was no longer available. The City of Scranton signed off on the change orders, and now the solicitor wants to use this change order, saying that Scartelli will abuse the change order process on the job. The contract does allow for change orders, and change orders are common occurrence in the construction industry. And Mr. Smurl, you can attest to that.
Thank you, Mr. Argenta.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Bev DeBarros?
Hi, Bev DeBarros, Scranton. Thank you for your time. I almost didn't want to take up your time to say, but I'll say it. Okay, I wish we had our garbage bills separate from the property taxes, and that we had them, we could pay them here at City Hall, keep track of them that way. And we know from the court case, the class action suit by Adam Giuffrida, that the garbage money that's been collected has been not used all the way it's supposed to be. The excess has been going to another account. And I think we could keep track of it that way, just that part of DPW, not the whole thing, but just the garbage collection, the wages, the equipment maintenance, et cetera. And just have a good handle on that, and every 3 months or so, maybe have a report on how that's going. But why I'm really here was I'm talking to, on the Mulberry Bush, on the business on Mulberry Street, the farm market there, with those people work really hard, Mike and Helene. They work really hard. They bring a good product from the farm every day. I feel like I'm healthier because of their fresh vegetables, fruits, and eggs. And so I'm talking to Mike, and he says that every single year, he doesn't get the garbage pickup from the city like I do as a homeowner. So he has forever had an independent contractor to pick up his garbage. But the city makes him every year provide copies of his bill for this contractor, pictures of the dumpster, every year. I mean, what are we doing to our small business people that we're making it harder for them? And so that's the gist of what I wanted to say today, and I appreciate it that you heard me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ron Ellman?
Yes, Council, I want to address this border czar article. This falsehood by editor, I'm not sure of his name, Oliva. It's just a complete deliberate misinformation. It's more than that. It's an outright denial that the media just covered Harris's the occasion when she was made the border czar. I saw it on different news 2 or 3 times I guess it was 2 weeks ago. This is the kind of fear that the media seems to have to tell the facts and the truth about anything. This is outright deliberate deceiving of the public by the editor of this paper, one of the editors. This country is, when I watch the news every day, this country's gone downhill so bad. We got all these undesirables by the millions living in 5-star hotels, eating in restaurants. They live better than a lot of people in this very city do. I know they have their American dream just like all of us, but they're achieving it at our expense. You got to realize low-income people have the most to lose. To me, any black that votes Democratic just needs his head examined. The way Biden is throwing the Jewish people of this country under the bus, they need their heads examined to vote Democratic. And the abortion issue that they energize so strongly at taxpayers' expense, I can't see why any Catholic would dare vote Democratic. The country has just been misled so bad. You know, I always shy away from issues like this, but it's just gotten so under my skin. While I think of it, to change the subject, Saturday I got an increase on my car insurance of $38 a month more. I phoned my company, Liberty Mutual. They told me that the state insurance commission allowed above board, straight across the board for all the insurance companies to increase. So I phoned another company and they told me that was a fact. I thought Shapiro is supposed to protect the people of this. He's turning out to be another wolf, you know that Wolf gave a carte blanche to our utilities, and look what has happened. Last year, I spent over $2,000 more on my utility bills than the year before, thanks to Wolf. I don't know, people. I won't live long enough to see anything done about all these problems. I guess I just better go on home while I got the energy to get in my car and go. Everything has just gotten so expensive. I'm very fortunate that I can do so, but I talk to 2-3 people every week. It's the same story of hardships. They shouldn't be hardships. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hellman. That is all for our sign-in sheet. Does anyone else wish to address council?
Tom Coyne, Manuka. Last session, we had the reappointment of Mr. Enton, a vote of the traditional 3-2. To remind people, he was caught in unethical behavior in relation to the zoning for Geisinger when he had a direct conflict. But I guess zoning that fits the administration's desire is a great reason to put him back in place. Last week, we had a 3-2 vote to praise and promote ethical violations. Last session, there was a move to table the appointment, and Mr. King said if Gallagher applied or had shown interest in the position, he normally would have let him go and would have supported him. He would have preferred him, but then in an emergency backpedaling, in an instant, turned 180 when a motion to table was put forward, as that would provide time. Laughable but sad, Mr. Schuster proposed, it's not due right now, let's give it more time. No, vote now, 3-2. Scranton's part in the unsheltered task force, or as I call it, the Homeless Avoidance Initiative. So Wilkes-Barre has a plan in motion, and Purgatory Page, the humanist, the woman who promotes friends in greed versus friends in need, has a plan to not plan for Scranton's homeless. To her, ignorance is bliss, and some on council seem to support this. Some will protest they want to see something, and I reply with Pink Floyd's line from Us and Them. For the want of a price of a tea and a slice, the old man died. Maybe if the homeless moved out of Scranton, they would have a better shot at being city employees. I'm not against residency waivers when needed, but to provide them, there should be a review for council, not just for a single employee for a position, but a comprehensive look at who's best, and if a waiver is appropriate. Council has presented a pre-picked single choice. They never get to evaluate if one is better than another or deserving an exemption. The biggest benefit of moving out of the city is no school tax. I guess for that, the kids don't matter. Speaking of moving out of the city, an argument has been brought forth by Mr. King on residency, saying that council has no choice because if they don't bow down and give the mayor what she wants by a 3-2 vote, they will lose in court due to disparative treatment. Or maybe he means disparative impact. First, I took a look at the fireman's contract, and guess what? It has a severability clause in it. But we do not want to address that because having an illegal law unenforceable by both code and the union contract on the books is not what we want to address. We shall avoid this because the administration desires its better. Nothing like directly causing the issue. 3-2. Disparative treatment from the Civil Rights Act of 1991 is the basis of separate and unequal treatment based on a protected class. Discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, national origin. Are the administrative employees a race, color, religion, sex, or national origin? Then it's not on face disparative treatment. The city lost in its prior case due to not enforcing across the board. And more importantly, the city attacked employees for suing the city, violating the First Amendment, which was the protected class in that case. Whoever informed Mr. King on disparative treatment served only half of the law and ignored the important parts from the Hill versus the City of Scranton case, 2005. I congratulate you on moving so fast to remove one of Jimmy Connor's initiatives. Want to make a change for the people? Put it on a referendum and let the people decide to do for something so important. Or rule 3-2 and show more proof of this is a pocket dictatorship. Are you willing to let the people decide? Are you willing to put it on referendum or let the people decide? I assume not. Have a good night.
Anyone else?
Good evening, Council. Dave Dobson, resident, taxes paid. And by the way, childless by choice and not abortion choice. Okay, you know, people don't get reminded about what they have gotten out of government. Now, you know, we have a candidate that's bashing people without kids. Well, guess what? You know, who pays for their schooling? They have a deduction, and we tried to increase that, and everybody was against it. You know, it's just really crazy. And on this insurance, you can bash the executive all you like, but when the legislature refuses to act or pass decent regulation, and the Supreme Court overrules the regulations, then, you know, we're getting all kinds of blame about the attempt on Trump's life. Well, the Supreme Court saw the deal. We legalized bump stocks for semi-automatic rifles. Oh, isn't that productive? You know, that'll show them. Okay, now getting to a few issues here locally. Traffic. You know, a lot has been said about walkability, and civilian deaths have been going up. Well, the higher the hood on your vehicle, the higher it is, the more likely you are to hit somebody in the thoracic cavity. And that's where the deaths are coming from. So, you know, with the stock SUV, not with biggie tires and hoopla, you're already 15 or 20% higher death rate per accident. And the vehicle height is very important. And from what I can see, I walked past a Jeep. The tires were way out. You're not supposed to drive an open-wheel car in Pennsylvania. No fender flares, which would protect people from getting hit and pulled in by the tire. So, you know, we have to start looking at some other things here. Harrison Avenue Bridge, I've seen some bigger cracks forming on the pedestrian wall. Now, I was past there yesterday, and traffic was a little slower, so I could take a peek around, and I guess I'll have to just park up at Duffy Park or something if I can and take a walk past both sides. But if water gets into that rebar, the steel enforcement, it rusts, expands, and breaks concrete. So it's up to us. I don't care if somebody sneaks in there at midnight and slips some patches in there. That would be the answer.
Dave, the state was notified, and they said they will have a bridge inspection this week.
Yeah, I saw some guy in one of the lime green suits, but it's very important that we pay attention to that. That's a new bridge, and it, you know, some of the cracks look like they could be 20 years old already.
I have an update on the bridge for you. I'll give in 15.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I just glanced at them because I was driving across them. You know, getting back to taxes and deductions and stuff, people complain, and if you have 2 kids in Scranton, it's $30,000 a year minimum to ship them to school. I have relatives that have special needs kids, and they're you know, and it's really stupid because they're probably getting $50,000 a year to possibly educate a kid that isn't really going to significantly contribute to an intellectual community. I don't think they should be aborted, but please start considering what you get from the state yourself. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Marie Schumacher, resident of the city. There are a few loose ends, since we're going to be gone for a month, that I'd like to talk about or get answers to. Going back, it's already been brought up, the revenue that we were supposed to be getting from, the mayor told us we would get from Serenity. What's going on there? What is going to go on? Does anybody know? Does anybody check to see what's happening there? It's been a long time.
Maria, I mentioned this to you a number of times. I was told there is not going to be any income from the Serenity Center.
So the mayor lied to us.
I don't know who said that there would be income, but I don't know. That's what I was told.
Why? Why? I mean, she had a reason for why we were going to have revenue. Why are we not having a revenue?
I don't know, Marie. I don't know
Okay, well,
where the
maybe you
revenue
can-
was coming from. I'm sorry, I don't know.
Well, maybe you can find out over the August month. And then the other thing, the pools this summer. What's going to happen next year, and who's working on it? I still can't, I don't know, I was just so upset when I saw that the Connell Park pool was empty of water. Was that ever approved here? Was
The
that
pool to be,
ever approved?
yes, that pool was approved. It will be up and running next year, and Weston Field, or in Weston Park, will both be up running next year.
Okay.
Also, Murray, prior to your arrival, I asked if we can get an update from our Parks Director as to what's going to go on with renovation, what pools will be open next year, what's the timeline for construction, and maybe he can come in and give us an update in caucus as to see what that plan is for all of our pools in the city.
Oh, thank you. That would be great.
And Marie,
Yeah.
we did pass legislation to hire the contractors to do the work at Naog, Weston Field, and at Connell Park to address those pools.
Where are they? The walkability, I thought it was said as soon as that went through, I remember being said it was going to go into view, and then I can't see any change.
Well, there's a lot of things that are going to happen before the walkability study begins the construction. There is going to be conduit ran through the entire downtown, so all of the above-ground utilities will be all put underground like they were supposed to be. So that is one priority. That has to be done before, because we don't want to cut the street up 5 times. So all the underground conduits are going to be put in, and then they could start working on all of the other projects. Everything is lined up.
And when do you think it will get kicked off?
Well, it should be in the next few weeks, so.
Oh, that would be good.
I think, Marie, similar to the Sorrenti building, the walkability study, to me, appears that it's going to happen in several, they're going to apply for grants for certain work, and they're going to piecemeal it together. That was the answer that I think the administration gave us here when we were starting some of those projects, or starting to talk about some of those projects, where they were going to get those grants and start that work. Real quick, Mr. Gilbride, I might be throwing you off guard here, or putting you on the spot. We had a meeting that Eileen Cipriani was part of, and I had asked her about an update on the Sorrenti building and where we're going to be going with that. Did she give us a definitive answer as what they were doing with that building?
I do not believe so.
I don't believe so either. So we do have to get an update on that. It's been something that's been asked numerous times, and we haven't had an answer. And I think some of the dealings with the construction firm that were over there are going to decide what the administration is doing with that building.
This is not good. Yeah, and to end, I am against the 7A. I don't think that we should have people from outside of our, outside of the city, essentially running the city. I think we have enough people here that are qualified, so that's my observation. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. King, Mr. Schuster, Mr. Smurl, Mr. McAndrews, and Dr. Rothchild. My name is Charisma Jones. I currently reside in the streets of Scranton, and every day I fear for my safety. Not only, as Ms. Reed spoke of, a gentleman I'm not sure of his name, I'm not sure of his background, but I do know when he's around, I fear for my safety. I have reported him to the police numerous times. Multiple young ladies who are in my condition have, and to no avail. Is there no safety for us? Is there no answering? Is there no justice for us? Is there absolutely no one that's going to be held accountable for the fact that most times I sleep in the Sheetz parking lot because I'm afraid to go anywhere else? I've been threatened with a machete. He has thrown rocks at my open windows as I was sleeping. My biggest fear is that he's going to pour a bottle of acid in my face while I slumber, and in my most vulnerable state, there will be nothing I can do about it. My question is there anyone who is going to make him answer for these atrocities that he's been committing against women here in the city of Scranton? I'll wait.
Well, this person you speak of was brought up twice tonight. Did you contact the police department?
Numerous times, Mr. McAndrews. I don't think they take my claim seriously. I mean, I'm not a thin girl, and I can defend myself, but not every woman that he's harassing is.
Now, are you able to identify this person by name?
Yes, I can.
Or...
By name, no, sir. By face, absolutely. By voice, 100%.
And is he homeless?
I have no idea. From speculation, he is, but I can't verify that.
Okay, Mr. Voldenberg, could we please follow up with the police department or the chief and see?
I have a live video on Facebook. I actually have several of him standing over children, harassing them, asking them to join local gangs. I'm not afraid of him. I'm not afraid of anyone thinking that I'm some rat.
Would you please leave your contact information?
Absolutely.
Do you know if that
Mr.
individual
Harrington?
has ever spoken here at City Council?
I highly doubt it. With his misogynistic personality, he would have been laughed out of the room.
I'm sorry, I spoke with Ms. Reed earlier. She seems to know who the individual is and has their information. So we'll make sure that from what you're telling us and what she's also informed us, that we'll make sure that gets to Chief Carroll and see what can be done about it and why there might have not been something done already.
Ms. Reed, is there a typical time of day that this occurs? And
This
like
is usually in
location?
the earlier afternoon hours between, I'd say, 12:30 and 2:30. I'm never having any kind of interaction with him after sunset, maybe a few times where he threw the rock at my car and threatened me with a machete in the parking lot of Geisinger, 3 West Olive. I told him I was going to smash him with my car. Now, I'm no soft lily. I'm not afraid of him, but in my most vulnerable state, what can I do to protect myself while I'm slumbering? Nothing. It'll catch me by surprise and can completely alter my life, and I don't want to end up like that. For the remaining time that I have, may I ask for a simple, small moment of silence for Mr. Randy Hare. He may not have meant much to anybody sitting here, but he meant the world to me. He was kind. He was considerate. He was always standing up for a woman in trouble, because there are many, many disgusting men in this city that feel as though we are pieces of property that they can control. So all I ask is, humbly, can we have a moment of silence for Mr. Hare? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Frank, can we have the Scranton Police Department kind of like patrol down that area, down by the pavilion and Sheets, between 12:30 and 2, to just kind of, if we could locate this individual, or even if we know the name, we could pass that on. Thank you.
I will, sir. Thank you.
Good evening, Council. Mark Margavage. I asked 2 questions last week, so I wonder if we could follow up on it. The exemption, who is the exempt person? Did we get an answer on that?
Mr. Margavage, you're asking, I looked at the codes that you gave us. You're looking for me to give you, or council to give you, our opinion of what it says.
Yes.
If you have I'm not an attorney, but if you're having a question on...
No, I'm just asking for clarity on an ordinance that you passed.
I'm not an attorney, and I can't give you clarity on that. It's
can't
written
tell
in
me
the
who the
code.
immediate family
Well, I'm
exemption
not going to give you an interpretation of that. I am not qualified to do that. So you need to either...
But you're still voting on ordinances, though.
You need to either contact our law department if you're looking for clarification on that. I can't give you that.
They got to get back to me.
Well, I can't help you with that.
Okay. All right, forget it. So months ago, I asked about the quality of life ordinance, the appeal process, and the amount. Councilman McAndrew, you asked that question. Do you remember what that answer was? Why they charge a $300 non-refundable fee for the quality of life and any type of appeal?
Yeah, the answer that I got and reported out here.
Yes, I remember. Yeah, just wanted to refresh everyone.
That's just part of the cost associated with processing. That's, unfortunately, I think it's a lot, but that's...
Yeah, it was $150 for preparation per hour and $150 for the trial per hour. Could anyone answer me why Attorney Janello charges $95 an hour? Pass that statement down. And why we charge $150 an hour when he only charges $95? Are we ripping off Attorney Janello or the citizens or both?
That, again, is the administration's. That is not something council can change. That is not something we can help you with. Again, you need to go to the law department and get clarification on this. I don't know why they do this. If you're looking for clarification, I'm not an attorney, and no one up here is either, so...
Well, nor am I, but I brought up a pretty good
then
point.
I can only advise you, hire an attorney if you're looking for clarification, or try our law department. I simply can't help you with this.
You're not concerned that they give an answer $150 per hour when they...
I am not qualified to give you an answer, okay?
You're not
I'm not an attorney. I'm not going to interpret what they do.
This is how investigations look.
Well...
So, all right, Mr. Smurl, then, on the 16th, when your rental registration subject came up, you said you have everything from the city that they did not send any of the things out. Could you clarify what you meant by that? I'll read it again. I have everything from the city that they did not send any of the things out.
I believe our attorney answered all those questions.
No, he did not answer that one.
Well, then, I will ask our attorney to look into that.
Look into your statement?
Yes.
Mr. Smurl, I don't think I need to look into it. I can answer it right now. The investigation was done by the administration. Mr. Smurl attempted to file everything he was supposed to under the laws and ordinance of the city. He was not able to do so because the system was in transition from one program to another. The moment the system transferred...
I understand what you're saying.
Sir, if you're going to interrupt them, then we're not going to have an answer to you. And you can't ask him questions.
I wasn't asking for the whole... I do understand. I'm not trying to interrupt you. I'm just trying to wonder, how could he have something that the city never sent out? That's his statement?
He did not have it, actually. It was provided, the copy was provided to me from the city itself when I asked them to investigate the situation.
Now, if this was, obviously, we make announcements on garbage delays, we make announcements on everything. Could I ask why we waited, why you held on to those papers until it was brought up for you to come forward and say, why would you not tell other citizens that there was a problem? And why does it take a right to know request from a citizen to have right to know, or excuse me, to have rental registration bills sent out? Is that not a concern as well?
It was a concern, and I inquired.
Yeah.
And I told you, I gave you the answers.
I'm not upset with you as much as I am upset with them.
Well, then go to them.
If the transition, but they don't want to answer. So you guys got to ask some questions.
No, we don't. That is not what we're here for. We're not here to argue with the administration. If you have a situation or a problem with them, you need to go to them.
Right, and what happens when they don't answer us?
Well, then...
Because I can tell you, I didn't get the same answer that Attorney Gilbride got. I can tell you that. I have many unanswered questions. So I'm just saying, I come here after I don't get answers.
Well, I can't help you with that.
You can't, or you just don't want to?
I cannot help you with that. Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else?
Good evening, Council. My name is Amy Cusick, resident of the city of Scranton, also president and founder of Christmas Miracles from Heaven. As you guys are well aware, we have been doing a Washburn Street cleanup every Saturday. Our next cleanup is going to be August 10th from 8 to 2. Before I get started, I just want to once again, say thank you to Council for all your hard work with me on this project. It really means a lot to us. Our last project, we got a lot of the cemetery cleaned up. Before I continue, I just want to thank Scranton Fire Department and Scranton Police Department as well for all their hard work. While cleaning up the cemetery, we found a burn barrel in the back of the cemetery that looks like it has been used. There are used tires up against the garage that is in a fenced-in area that we cannot get. Obviously, that is also a fire hazard. So I'm not sure what we can do about that, but like I said, our next cleanup is August 10th from 8 to 2. Once again, just want to reach out and thank all the residents for their help, for all their support. We greatly appreciate that. I do have a personal question as well. My dad has a handicap license plate on his vehicle, and we have a driveway. Our driveway sign was taken down by a plow truck and never replaced. I tried to get it replaced, and I was told by Scranton Police that I had to contact DPW. Okay, call DPW. DPW wants me to call Scranton Police. Pretty sure that the police officers have more important things to do than coming out and putting up a no parking in driveway sign. So if you can just help me out where I can possibly get that taken care of, I greatly appreciate that. Also, I just wanted to make it for the record that being up here talking to you guys every week is very nerve-wracking for me. Personally, I don't like it, but I come here because there's issues with our city. Washburn Street Cemetery is one of those. I come here and I've never been to city council before my nonprofit, and being here every week is very eye-opening to me, and I'm pretty sure to any other resident who's never been here before and sat in these seats to see what happens. I made a post just letting the people of the city of Scranton know that, hey, you want to know what's going on in the city? Don't message me, don't ask me, don't comment. Go to city council, ask them. But apparently I ruffled some feathers with that post, so I apologize. It's not what it was meant for. It's just meant to bring awareness to the residents of the city of Scranton. There is council meetings. You guys can come here, voice your opinion, get answers that you need. I can't give you those answers. That's what you guys are all here for, to give the residents their answers. So I apologize if I ruffled any feathers. Didn't mean no harm in it, but I'm not sure, like Mr. Morgan said, if there's something you guys don't want people here for, I don't know. That's an answer you have to answer, not me. Thank you.
I'm sorry, can you leave your address for the sign request?
I sure can.
And your information with Kathy so that we can get someone over there. And I was a little unclear, is it, do you need a handicap sign or a driveway sign?
No, we have a handicap sign, but we also have a driveway. But my neighbors throw parties every weekend. Long hours of the night, police have been there several times, and they block my driveway. Sometimes if I drive out to the store, I come back and they're halfway in the handicap parking, the parking too.
Okay, so you previously had a no parking driveway sign? Okay.
Yep.
Then yeah, if you leave your information, then we could get DPW to place one of those back there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening, Council. Mike Mancini, Scranton. Tonight we're going to talk about character. There's 294 days left until the election, May 20th, 2025. General election would be 462 days, November 4th, 2025. One of the things that you're going to be passing this evening is the residency requirement. My recommendation here is there's no rush. Let's table it. Let's bring it back a month from now and talk about it. Reason for this, and the reason why I'm requesting this, is because it gives the mayor and the administration the ability to hire whoever they want without coming through this body. You know, circumventing the process that protects the citizens against something like this is being neglected. You know, there's no respect here. You know, we're catering to an expansion team. Like I said last week, like I've said in the past, you know, we're looking at an administration where half of them can't even vote for the mayor. You know, years ago there was court orders for this purpose. We've had an ordinance since 1979. You know, perhaps maybe the unions would want to go halfway with the city. After 10 years of residency, halfway to your pension, you know, allow them to move outside the city with the wage tax. You know, I'm against the wage tax as well. I think at some point it needs to be reduced and ultimately abolished. Now, let's talk about permits. We're finding all these people, and we don't even know how much is being collected. Cemetery, Washburn Street Cemetery, which I've been a part of, there's almost 17,000 plots. They were cited 3 times over the past 6 years, but a 72-year-old woman in Southside was cited 8 times in 6 weeks. Where's the fairness in that? Scranton Sewer Authority, next month, everybody in the city is going to be receiving a bill, $220 increase per year. That's 6.4%. With that sale of the Sewer Authority, which ultimately shook out to $83 million in the city's favor, there was an increase not to exceed 1.9%. It should be $63, now $220. I don't one of you guys want to talk about it because apparently everybody's afraid of the unions. And that includes the pave cuts. My recommendation is to make each and every contractor who does the finishing of these pave cuts aware as to what our ordinance is. They're not sealing them, they're breaking apart, we are responsible for them, we're putting labor hours into it. And you heard from Roger Little, the union chief from DPW, back in May, asking for help with several different things, including blight. We haven't opened up the budget to include the blight or the pave cut inspectors. It's cheaper to do that than it is to have these reoccurring expenses. But yet the 5 of you don't seem to get that. You know, the mayor's even pushing for stop signs downtown for these intersections. Ultimately, this residency thing more than likely is going to be 3-2 in favor of. Don't make these stop signs 3-2 in favor of. At $525,000 a clip for an intersection, it's going to be quite costly. We're 185 in the country for worse-looking cities. You know, how about increasing the fines for littering? Also increase the fines for the pave cuts. There have been no fines over the past 4 years for those pave cuts. We're just allowing the utilities to do whatever they want. Testing for the Scranton Police Department. It's at 1:30. We got a lot of people that take the test, but we're just down to 10. You know, we have third-generation police officers that have to work in other cities that should be working here, but they're not. The homeless get a survey instead of actually getting a cup of coffee and trying to help them. You know, we're down to one pool. Most of them are not going to be open until late next year. You know, and we're looking at it in a bad way. These kids don't have anything to do. And yet, one pool page gets catered to on a daily basis.
Thank you, Mr.
I'm not
Lucci.
down with OPP. I don't think you should be either.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Anyone else?
Fifth order, 5A motions.
Mr. King, do you have any motions or comments?
Just in reference to the issue of the disparate treatment, maybe disparate isn't the proper word. How about discriminatory treatment? We have a group of emergency workers in the city, police officers, their emergency services. We have the fire department, their emergency services. They're a class, okay? They're both emergency workers. They both serve the city of Scranton. An arbitrator granted the police the opportunity to live outside the city. An arbitrator. And this is through contract negotiations, ultimately went through an arbitrator, and he determined that the police have the right to live outside the city. Now, how are we going to turn around and deny the fire department the right and say, no, I'm sorry, you guys have to live here, but the police, they don't have to? I mean, we need you both. We need all of you. They do a great job. We have a great professional fire department, police department, DPW. And quite frankly, if we didn't give them the opportunity, the same opportunity that the police department was granted through arbitration, I'll almost guarantee the Scranton Fire Department is going to be knocking on the city administration's door and filing a grievance or whatever, which will ultimately end up before an arbitrator who's going to grant the exact same thing that they did for the police department. That's why I'm supporting it. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. King. Mr. Schuster, do you have any motions or comments?
Yes, I have a few. I spoke about either last week or the week before. What Mr. King said is correct. For people out in the public that don't know this, the residency was granted by an arbitrator with the police contract. The city did negotiate residency out of the clerical union contract that was voted on by their members 2 weeks ago. These are things that have happened. So when each of these contracts are coming up, residency is going to be removed from those contracts. So I'm glad it's stated again so people know, because there were some people that gave me some phone calls that were unsure or were unaware that this had occurred. So the residency is going to be removed from all contracts, inevitably. Going back to pave cuts, I got some responses to some questions I had last week. So I asked, what are we going to do to ensure that we're tracking our pave cuts? The administration said the city has implemented a new utility street excavation permit system in the OpenGov platform. Moving all permits to the OpenGov system from a paper system has improved their ability to track pave cuts and receive payments more efficiently. The transition allows us to move from lump sum checks to per cut payments, allowing us to flag problematic cuts for better follow-up on negligent ones. The city is currently uploading old permits into the system, and they're going to continue to digitize those records. Mr. Voldenberg, could we just clarify this a little bit further and ask when the start date of this new platform has occurred?
I will, sir.
All right, thank you very much. Next, has Riley Associates in the city been ensuring that all pave cuts have been restored? The answer that I got back was based on the recommendations from Riley Associates, the city has added inspectors at each step of the pave cut process, including pre-cut and restoration to ensure that all projects are correctly restored. PA Water reports on restoration statuses of those projects. Can we also clarify a little bit further and ask, there's going to be a decrease in, well, it appears that there's a decrease in, I don't want to call it revenues, but I'm going to call it revenues because it's money coming into the city. How is the city going to make up for the revenue lost from pave cuts over the last 4 years? As we've seen it decline from the information I've received from the administration. Thank you. How are we tracking pave cuts? They're using a new system in OpenGov. And then I asked for what is the total number of pave cuts that sit outside of the utility company's responsibility to repair, and they stated that more time is needed to answer this question. As indicated above, old permits are starting to be digitized, so it looks like they're going to need some more time on that, and they're saying with this system, pave cuts will be tracked from here on out. So once we get that start date, we'll see when that system has begun. I also asked, when it comes to the pension board, there's an open seat for a retired fire department individual on the pension board, and I asked when the mayor is going to accept the appointment and when that individual is going to be appointed to the board, and the answer I got was that the city solicitor is in conversations with the fire pension board solicitor regarding this matter, but I did not get a complete answer on that question. That's all for right now. I'll speak to others on the question.
Thank you, Mr. Schuster. Dr. Rothchild, do you have any motions or comments?
Yes, I do. Just pull up here. Okay, so first on the issue of the Harrison Bridge, PennDOT did make it out, and they painted over the graffiti that was there. And then regarding the cracks in the pedestrian wall, they were reviewed and they're going to be handled, they said cosmetically, that everything structurally is fine with the bridge, so there's no concerns there, but they just felt it was due to concrete settling and it shouldn't pose any safety issue there. And then something that it's been brought up for some time, and I know Councilman King has also reported out on this, so coming onto 81 off of the Biden Expressway, there's water barriers or water containers that PennDOT said they would replace, and I just went by there the other day and they still are not. So I'm not sure what the problem is or the holdup in replacing those, but Mr. Voldenberg, if you could please reach out to them again to make sure those get replaced.
Dr. Rothchild, we did receive an update from PennDOT. Evidently, they changed contractors from Pennline to Green Acre,
Okay.
and they're in the process of being replaced. I'll get a time frame, though.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Received a complaint about sewage drain over at the intersection of Taylor and Vine in the hill section, and appears to have been paved over. So now there's only a small opening, and I believe that was an American Water job. So if we could contact PAWC about the paving there at the sewage drain.
I'll reach out to them in the morning.
Okay, great. Also about, received a complaint about graffiti being right next to Hazori Dental on Lackawanna Avenue. So if we can contact the appropriate party about getting that cleaned up.
It's been reported to
Has
DPW.
already
I'll
been.
follow up.
Excellent. And received an email and complaint. This is on Harrison Avenue, and I believe it's in front of 739 Harrison Avenue, that there's a street light that needs to be replaced. And the individual tried to make the complaint, and they went through the website and found a listed number to make such a complaint, and along with an extension that was included. So that was for street lights that were out, and they found that the extension did not work. So they were not able to contact someone about that. I think they also tried, they said a director, I'm not sure if they meant the director of DPW or which department, but the voicemail box was full, so they couldn't leave a message either. They finally were able to leave a message with the general inquiries number, so shouldn't be that hard for them to leave a complaint about a street light being out so that it could be repaired. So I do want to make sure that that message has gotten through and that it'll be taken care of, but also want to make sure that if we have numbers on the website and extension numbers, that they are accurate and that it gets corrected.
I'll reach out on both issues.
Okay, I'll go ahead and forward along the email so you know which
Great,
numbers
thank you.
were an issue. And let's see, so more on the pave cuts, we had received some additional complaints. Someone who lives on Myrtle Street and has been witness to all the issues occurring there and in the hill section, and they had a number of locations on that street where potholes have opened up, and also on Irving as well. So I'll forward along those addresses. I want to make sure that PAWC is aware of where those potholes are located so that they could fix them. And it just really is unfortunate that with new pavings that these potholes are already opening up, and just shows that the work is not being done properly if we're already having these issues. So I do appreciate this person coming forward and sending us all this detailed information, because if not, then someone else might not have, and we wouldn't be able to get them repaired in a timely manner. So I want to make sure that happens, and we really need solutions to the pave cut issue in our city, and working with utility companies. And I know Councilman Schuster had reported out the answers that we had received on what changes they're going to make to better track the issues at hand, but we need to deal with the immediate ones as well. And one other one, I've been talking about this property for quite a while, and we've had a lot of complaints from Southside residents in the past about the 621 rear Alder Street that we're still, I believe, waiting on the magistrate. So I know they couldn't get in touch with the person. Last I knew was that they issued a warrant, and I know I've been asking, but I haven't received any further updates. So Mr. Voldenberg, if you could once again reach out to Andrew Sunday to see if there's anything that we could do to push the magistrate on that property. I know it's really becoming an issue for the resident there.
I will, Dr. Rothchild.
Okay, thank you. That's all that I have.
Thank you, Dr. Rothchild. Mr. McAndrew, do you have any motions or comments?
I got two items I need to report out that I inquired about. So for a few weeks, we've had people come in complaining about the crosswalks, that they're not maintained. The ones near the schools are faded, or there's not ones near the schools that are mandated. So it is a big concern. So they sent me a list of the crosswalks, but that really wasn't the question I had. The question I had was, okay, which ones are going to be a priority because school is fastly approaching, and is there a maintenance schedule to actually maintain them, and because of safety issues. So the city said they will release an invitation to bid for crosswalk painting in August, with school zones as a priority. Also high traffic and high accident roads, which is great to hear. But then city will request a schedule as part of that invitation to bid. I don't know why we need to bid the schedule piece out if you know, a schedule's a schedule for maintenance. So could you clarify that sentence for me? I don't know, that doesn't make too much sense to me.
I
All
will,
right,
sir.
thank you. That should be developed already, but obviously we don't have one and we need one. We don't need to bid that out. All right, so I also asked about the pave cuts, because that's a big issue with everybody in the city. And we get, you know, we get different answers every time we ask questions about it. So the question I asked is, okay, so what revenue has been pulled in by, you know, pulled permits to do the pave cuts? And what is the breakdown on charges or fines for the pave cuts? So we were told $21,000. I think on average, it's, I don't remember the number, the amount, but at least a couple $100,000 from what I remember, but to 21,000, or at least 80 maybe last summer, but 21 it's down. So I question, why is it down? Please ask, why is it down that amount? I know, you know, they're trying, we don't have a pave cut inspector. I know we don't have a director of DPW. I know. But it's this, you know, this loss of revenue is immense compared to prior years. I mean, I remember there was like maybe $500,000 a couple years ago. So this concerns me, and, you know, can we get some clear-cut answers as to why the revenue is down?
I will, sir.
Thank you. And that is all I have.
Thank you, Mr. McAndrew. I have a few, 326 Pittston Avenue. Somebody's chimney fell in a neighbor's yard. I sent that into licensed code enforcement. They should be there. Also, we asked an update for PA American Water Company for the Lake Scranton walking trail. They said they will close a portion of the trail week to week through August based on truck traffic by their contractor that are up there putting that new tank in. The walking trail will be open every weekend, and PAWC is posting a schedule on their Facebook account, so that may help all of walkers go up there at what section is going to be closed off and what time. They normally put a map up there to make it easier to see. Also, the 702 Crown Avenue, I'm glad to see that is, they're cleaning it. Code enforcement, they were cited multiple times. I believe they're paying the citations, but they are actually cleaning it. And we sent in a request, this was, Joan Hortowanis, I think this was for you, for the improvements for the hearing impaired, about the deadline of the contract if we had missed it. And the city did not miss the deadline. However, it was a brief timeline between the notice of funding and application, hence the need to catch legislation up to the application. Okay, so this is for that Strengthening Mobility Revolution Transportation Grant. And the resolution was not needed for the grant application phase, but however, the resolution is needed to forward in case we do get the grant, we can accept it. And also, I had asked about the amount. You said there was a discrepancy in the amount of the Meadowbrook project. The total project is $497,150. The grant request, our grant request is $300,000, and the city will provide matching funds of $197,100 from our capital budget. And that is all I have, Mr.
5B for introduction, a resolution authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to execute and enter into a contract with Multiscape, Inc. to demolish and replace a 130-foot retaining wall for the city of Scranton pursuant to Federal Emergency Management Agency funding and guidelines.
At this time, I entertain a motion that item 5B be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question. Okay, so on the question on this, we had this withdrawn, and we tabled it because the bidder, Hadley Construction, had withdrawn their bid. There was a calculation error and something with our city engineer. However, Fabcor and Multiscape were the next two in, so the city had chosen Multiscape. So that is why we are putting this through, so that we can get this project moving and we don't lose the FEMA money. Anyone else? All those in favor of introductions signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
I make a motion to suspend the rules to move item 5B to seventh order for a final vote.
Second.
On the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
Sixth order, no business at this time. Seventh order, 7A, for consideration by the Committee on Rules for adoption, file to Council number 27, 2024, repealing the residency requirement for city employees.
As chairperson for the Committee on Rules, I recommend final passage of item 7A.
Second.
On the question,
On the question, I would like to table this, and I'm going to tell you why. This is kind of a little rush job, and it's no secret, I'm a huge supporter of the fire department and the firefighters. I am. I'm very proud of them, as well as all the other unions that are all going to get this waiver removed. They're going to get the residency repealed. Every union's going to get it. So this is the third read. So for the past 2 weeks, we've heard different information from different people, which is fine. And then we had an executive session. We were informed that there's going to be an MOA, okay? And an MOA is a memorandum of agreement between two parties, administration, the union, right? So that was brought to us only to speed this up and make it fair, which that was a concern of mine, that this has to be fair for everybody at every union. Okay? Because it is going to happen, folks. There's no way around it, and that's fine. Arbitration started this, and that's fine. So we were presented with the MOA last week, and we were told, taken care of. All right? So Ms. Hodowanis made a great statement. The devil's always in the details, right? So I look at this letter that we received about the MOA, right? I've yet to see an MOA signed by the mayor, okay? And here's the problem I have, and I'm a procedural guy. I'm a union member myself. I'm a brother, okay? So in the MOA, it states, and there's going to be different MOAs for different unions, and that's fine. That makes sense. The first responders that have different responsibilities. But part of this says the city will have the right to unilaterally implement reasonable provisions, work rules, procedures as it determines necessary at all times. That's not clearly defined as to what. Second, the union has to waive grieving or arbitrating such items that are implemented in this waiver. So they're not even clearly defined. They haven't even been presented to the body for you guys. You didn't even vote on it yet. So I'm a procedural guy. How can I, because this MOA is attached to our legislation we have to vote on tonight. How can I vote on something and I'm not voting against you guys? Please understand that. But the process is flawed. So if the details aren't ironed out, we're putting the cart before the horse. You don't know what's going to happen, but just vote on it first. That's what administration's saying. We'll work it out later. And I know how Labor Council works here. I know what's coming, or I'm afraid what's coming for you guys. I'm looking out for you guys when I want to table it. Tabling is not just prolonging it until I vote no. I'm not going to vote no, or based on some of this, but it has to be fair for everybody, like I'm saying, the past 3 weeks. So, like I said, I'm making a motion to table this, so you guys have the opportunity to work out the parts that they want to implement you don't even know about or hold you accountable for when you can't grieve it. States here, you won't be able to grieve it anyways. That might be response time. Say, they set a time that might not be reasonable for you to get to the city and fight a fire. I work at the Career Technology Center. On the way to work, it takes me 8 minutes. On the way home at 3:15, sometimes 40. So what is reasonable? That hasn't been worked out. And if it's not, it might be reasonable to the administration, but if it's not reasonable to you and you're written up, there's no way to grieve this. There's no way to protect yourselves. So I believe that these details should be worked out first and clear and voted on and agreeable to you guys, because you're getting it anyways. What's the rush? Why can't you wait and actually vote on it? I wouldn't vote on something like that. I've had MOUs, we call them in our contract as a teacher, and they're clearly defined. You get this, we get that. It's talked about, it's worked out. This is just what we see fit. They don't lay it out. It's not clear to me. And we haven't even gotten a copy of the MOA from the mayor, signed copy. I heard there's one out there. Why don't we have it? So with that said, I just want to table it till everybody gets all the information they need to make the proper judgment and make sure it's fair.
So I'd like to second the motion to table. My fear is also in the language. Something that the union pointed out is, well, first of all, I'd like to say something I pointed out last week, which still remains in the backup of the document, is that residency is still subject to collective bargaining, and we'll still have to go through that bargaining process. But in the MOAs, there's two MOAs. One was negotiated with DPW, the other one with the fire department. The city has the right to unilaterally implement contract provisions that are non-grievable. The union pointed out that this is one of their concerns, and it's one of the concerns of mine. As Mr. McAndrew says, it seems like we're putting the cart before the horse. We're voting on this for residency and residency alone, and then we don't know what the administration is going to come back with these unilateral provisions that they may give to you. I see it as the same thing. You're either going to negotiate this now, or you're going to negotiate it later. But either way, you're going to be negotiating what those provisions are or what's in your next contract. It is going to come out of the contract. I would like to take some time, and I would like to hear what those unilateral provisions are before I move forward with this. So I'm going to make I'm going to second the motion to table.
Anyone else on the question? On the question, the MOUs and the agreements that were sent out, there is a third one. I did not agree with the first two as I spoke with the Firemen's Union representatives. I didn't agree with all of the wording and everything that they had into that. So the newest one is, and this was this afternoon, and I believe your Firemen's Union's representative received this. All of the other things that were in those agreements have gone away. I didn't agree with them the first day, I didn't agree with them the second time, and I didn't agree with them when we had the executive meeting, and I made that quite clear. What the city has done is basically said, all they're looking for is the required residency with the firemen be in Lackawanna County, or if outside Lackawanna County, to reside in 25 air miles of the city, which mirrors the police department. And that is all it will say, and that is the new MOU that I received this afternoon. And I don't think we should hold just the fire department. Their contract's 2 years away. I believe everyone should receive it at the same time.
Why didn't we get a copy of that?
I got it this afternoon, and I believe that's when the fire department got it.
We're the ones making the vote here and decisions. This is information that should have been given to us.
Yes.
I have a few things on the question about this. I believe when it was introduced, I had given my standing on it, and just wanted to add a few other things in light of other conversations that we've had since. So I also believe in fairness, and I don't believe that it's fair for our fire department to wait until 2026 to have these residency requirements removed. When SPD already has clerical union, I don't think they need to wait for that, especially if it is inevitable. Why not have that ability now? I think that there's this fear that there's going to be a mass exodus from the city, from our employees, and I really don't see where that's coming from. I don't see that happening. And even if someone was to leave their property, sell their property, someone else is going to move into that home. Our market is good. Someone else is going to be paying those property taxes, those school taxes, the wage tax. So that to me just doesn't make sense. Also, someone had mentioned that we won't have any oversight anymore over employees. We're not really supposed to now. We have the director positions that come through council. Just because the waivers were coming to us before for employees who are living outside of the city, I never really was in agreement with that in the first place. I'm still not. So we're still going to see those director positions come through for for council's approval. So I don't really see any change there. I know that incentives have been previously mentioned in order to incentivize people to live within the city, which I'm fine with ideas about that. I'm very willing to entertain incentives. And with the comment about this being sped up, I mean, we've had 3 readings like we do with other pieces of legislation. We've had a lot of discussion on it, so I don't see it as being rushed. And also the MOA, it's not a requirement. It's just something that we wanted to have to, just have a clear understanding between ourselves and the unions about what's going to happen. But that's also not a deal breaker for me, although I am glad to see that the language was cleaned up in there. So that's all that I have at this time about it.
Can I look at this
Absolutely.
for the first time?
So at this point in time, 2 MOAs have been negotiated.
Well, there's a third one.
There has been negotiations with DPW. There has been with the fire department. I don't think we're waiting until 2026. Obviously, other bodies are going to be getting that prior to 2026, and it's not going to be something that's waited on. But there's a lack of clarity in the details as to what's going to be coming next. That's where I'm at right now. I haven't seen this MOU or MOA, and I would much rather wait until details are ironed out before we move forward with it.
Well, so it's been stated for 2 weeks, or the past week, an MOA. Now, this says MOU. This isn't signed by anybody. I'm not questioning the validity of it, but where's the signed MOA from the mayor? That's the process. That's what's supposed to happen.
And one other thing I want to remind us all is last week we were told that there would be a signed MOA that we would be getting before today's vote. That was something that was promised last week, and I have not seen that yet.
Okay, so we have a motion to table and a second. So we will do a roll call vote on that. Roll call, please.
No, wait a
Oh,
second.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
There was a motion to table and a second on the question for that.
Yes.
So now we get to speak to that. So here's my concern. In light of this new MOA, it sounds like the union's on board with that, number one. Number two, if we don't approve this tonight, we table it, it dies, because a month will go by, then it has to be reintroduced in September in 5th order, and it goes through 3 readings again in September. So this is actually pushing this out till late September or early October. We heard from the union president. It seems like I don't know very many union presidents that would come up in a public forum at a city council meeting and ask us to support something if they didn't have the backing of the body. I believe that Mr. Smurl had spoken to them at some point as well. So as far as the MOA is concerned, that's a matter that if it's not fully resolved, that the union's willing to work on that between the administration and themselves, the details of that. Once again, I just want them to be treated, fairly, just like the clerical union, along with the, the police department and other employees in the city.
So in speaking fairly, I'm just asking for us to wait until some details are ironed out, and I don't think it's about being fair at this point in time. It's making sure some of these things get ironed out before it's voted on an official.
Anyone else on the motion to table? No? So we will vote on the motion to table, and we have a second. So that's what we're voting on, is the motion to table. Roll call, please.
Mr. King?
No.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Dr. Rothchild?
No.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Smurl?
No. So now we will vote on the original passage of item 7A. Roll call, please.
So on the question for that, I mean, okay, so like I said, I support and I'm very proud of you guys and every union worker in the city. So, like, the devil's in the details. I'll vote yes now to put it through, but with reservation, because I know what's happened before when it comes to the Labor Council. I've heard it from you guys. I've heard it from every union. You can't trust them. I've seen it. I've seen sloppy legislation come from them. I've seen told one thing and something else happens. I've seen it in the 5 years that I'm here. So I'll keep my eye on it, but I just hope that, you know, because this isn't signed, there's no name on this final MOA. It's not signed by anybody. It's not voted on or agreed upon. So I hope that they stand by this last one, and I'd like a copy of that before I leave today, because it came out of nowhere. So with that said, like I said, I'm trying to be fair, guys, but I was trying to have your back. I hope you understand that. And I hope it stands true, but fingers crossed.
So I'll repeat it again, you know, the devil is in the details here. We were promised last week from the city administration that a signed MOA would be coming to us. We'd get to see that before our final vote. It's been promised many times that we'd have everything finalized before 7th order vote. Like I said, I think you're going to be either negotiating this now or later. So when those unilateral pieces come over, after this passes, you're going to be negotiating those pieces now rather than later with your contract. And the residency piece isn't going to be something I think you would negotiate either way, because it's something that's coming either way. Thank you.
Thank you.
On the question, I'm going to respect the fact that the union is literally here tonight asking us to pass this and doesn't seem to have an issue with it. So if they're good, then I'm good.
I'll also repeat, when it came to residency points, I think residency points should be taken into consideration. I think it'll be something that you guys should be bringing to the table when negotiations occur, when that happens. I think the citizens of this city wouldn't mind a couple points for individuals that want to invest in this city. I have gotten some phone calls from some of your colleagues that express these same concerns. And I'm sorry to say tonight I'm going to be voting no because I wanted that MOA here. But good luck.
Also, on the question, I did bring that up 2 weeks ago, okay? That if Mary or Johnny or Jane's lifelong dream is to be a firefighter or a police officer and live here and want to live here, they should get something, whether it's during the scoring process, on a rubric, or the hiring process. I'm told that, we were told when I brought that up, that it might have to go through civil service. I don't know if that's the case. Hopefully that could be negotiated in your contract. I'd like to see at least try, and then maybe if it's, but we have to take care of the people that want to stay here. We can't forget about them, because this affects them, the residents, more than anybody. And I agree, Ms. Hodawana says, you know, in the legislation, there's zero financial impact. I don't agree about it. I don't know. I don't think I agree with that. Time will tell. It's easy to say, hey, we're great, everything's great. People are selling houses. It's going to be tough for you guys to go buy a $500,000 house and move out of the city where you have a house that might be worth $200,000 now. That's the world. That's what's going on now. So I've said enough. I'm ready to vote.
Thank you, Mr. McAndrew. So this vote will be for final passage of item 7A. Roll call, please.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster?
No.
Dr. Rothchild?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Smurl?
Yes, I hereby declare item 7A legally and lawfully adopted.
7B, for consideration by the Committee on Finance for adoption, filed to Council number 28, 2024, removing the license and inspection requirements for commercial scales and gasoline service stations.
What is the recommendation of the chairperson for the Committee on Finance?
As chairperson for the Committee on Finance, I recommend final passage of 7B.
On the question. Roll call, please.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Dr. Rothchild?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Smurl.
Yes, I hereby declare item 7B legally and lawfully adopted.
7C for consideration by the Committee on Rules for Adoption, filed to Council number 29, 2024, establishing responsible contractor standards, certifications, and related provisions for large public works contracts.
As chairperson for the Committee on Rules, I recommend final passage of item 7C as amended.
Second.
On the question. Roll call, please.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Dr. Rothchild?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Smurl.
Yes, I hereby declare item 7C as amended, legally and lawfully adopted.
7D for consideration by the Committee on Rules for Adoption, filed to Council number 30, 2024, amending procedural provisions of Chapter 428 Taxation regarding the tax exemptions from real property tax for improvements to certain residential, commercial, and other business property to adjust application and exemption schedules.
As chairperson for the Committee on Rules, I recommend final passage of item 7D.
Second.
On the question. Roll call, please.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Dr. Rothchild?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Smurl.
Yes, I hereby declare item 7D legally and lawfully adopted.
7E for consideration by the Committee on Public Safety for Adoption, Resolution number 89, 2024, ratifying and approving the execution and submission of the grant application by the City of Scranton to the U.S. Department of Transportation SMART Grant Program for up to $773,000 to be used towards the City of Scranton safety improvements for hearing and sight impaired.
What is the recommendation of the chairperson for the Committee on Public Safety?
As chairperson for the Committee on Public Safety, I recommend final passage of item 7E.
Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Dr. Rothchild?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Smurl.
Yes, I hereby declare item 7E legally and lawfully adopted.
7F for consideration by the Committee on Public Works for Adoption, Resolution number 90, 2024, ratifying and approving the execution and submission of the grant application by the City of Scranton to the Department of Community and Economic Development for up to $300,000 to be used towards the Stafford Meadowbrook Watershed Project.
What is the recommendation of the chairperson for the Committee on Public Works?
As chairperson for the Committee on Public Works, I recommend final passage of item 7F.
Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Dr. Rothchild?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Smurl.
Yes, I hereby declare item 7F legally and lawfully adopted.
7G for consideration by the Committee on Finance for Adoption, Resolution number 91, 2024, authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to execute and enter into a memorandum of understanding with American Rescue Plan Act Director to obligate state and local fiscal recovery funds to perform stormwater improvements at various areas of interest within the city of Scranton.
What is the recommendation of the chairperson for the Committee on Finance?
As chairperson for the Committee on Finance, I recommend final passage of item 7G.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Dr. Rothchild?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Smurl.
Yes, I hereby declare item 7G legally and lawfully adopted.
7H for consideration by the Committee on Finance for Adoption, Resolution number 92, 2024, authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to execute and enter into a memorandum of understanding with American Rescue Plan Act Director to obligate state and local fiscal recovery funds to perform safety and infrastructure upgrades and roadway and pedestrian crosswalk repairs in and around the city of Scranton.
What is the recommendation of the chairperson for the Committee on Finance?
As chairperson for the Committee on Finance, I recommend final passage of item 7H.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Dr. Rothchild?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Smurl.
Yes, I hereby declare item 7H legally and lawfully adopted.
7I for consideration by the Committee on Finance for adoption, Resolution Number 93, 2024, authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to execute and enter into a memorandum of understanding with American Rescue Plan Act Director to obligate state and local fiscal recovery funds to perform City Hall technology upgrades.
What is the recommendation of the chairperson for the Committee on Finance?
As chairperson for the Committee on Finance, I recommend final passage of item 7I.
On the question?
Second.
On the question? Roll call, please.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Dr. Rothchild?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Smurl?
Yes, I hereby declare item 7I legally and lawfully adopted.
7J for consideration by the Committee on Finance for adoption, Resolution Number 94, 2024, authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to execute and enter into a memorandum of understanding with American Rescue Plan Act Director to obligate state and local fiscal recovery funds to perform disaster mitigation for the Lindy Creek tributary.
What is the recommendation of the chairperson for the Committee on Finance?
As chairperson for the Committee on Finance, I recommend final passage of item 7J.
Second.
On the question? Roll call, please.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Dr. Rothchild?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Smurl?
Yes, I hereby declare item 7J legally and lawfully adopted.
7K, previously tabled, for consideration by the Committee on Rules for adoption, filed to Council Number 21, 2024, removing outdated floodplain management provisions of Scranton City Code.
As chairperson for the Committee on Rules, I recommend final passage of item 7K.
Second.
On the question? Roll call, please.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Dr. Rothchild?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Smurl?
Yes, I hereby declare item 7K legally and lawfully adopted.
7L, formerly 5B, for consideration by the Committee on Public Works for adoption, Resolution Number 95, 2024, authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to execute and enter into a contract with Multiscape, Inc. to demolish and replace a 130-foot retaining wall for the city of Scranton pursuant to Federal Emergency Management Agency funding and deadlines.
What is the recommendation of the chairperson for Committee on Public Works?
As chairperson for the Committee on Public Works, I recommend final passage of item 7L.
Second.
On the question? Roll call, please.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Dr. Rothchild?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Smurl?
Yes, I hereby declare item 7L legally and lawfully adopted.
Eighth order, 8A, filed to Council Number 21, 2024.
This ordinance was taken from the table this evening and placed in seventh order for a final vote.
8B, filed to Council Number 26, 2024.
This ordinance is the 2024 HUD Annual Action Plan for which a public hearing was held this evening. It will be tabled for 30 days to allow for public input and will be brought back for a final vote in September. If there is no further business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
This meeting is adjourned.